Hey, welcome back. My name's Chris. It is Wednesday. It's beautiful. It's overcast. It's sort of sunny. It's like 73 degrees. It's perfect wine drinking weather. But I honestly could say that's everyday weather. So we are doing some cellar chats. We're doing some wine flights. And we're back in France. Last week we did Bordeaux. And you know what? We felt like France just could use a little more focus. So we're doing Burgundy this week. That's right. Going to the land of expensive wine, the land of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, and also Gamay? Why not? So first on the lineup, we are doing Dominique Cornin. These guys are located in the Mâconnais, specifically they're based in Pouilly-Fuissé. Not to be confused with Pouilly-Fumé, which is a really incredible place for Chardonnay south of what we would consider the traditional Côtes, south of the Côte de Beaune. And then we're moving a little further south to Chapelle in the Beaujolais region. Yes, Beaujolais is part of Burgundy, although Burgundy might argue otherwise. And then we're going to go all the way up to the north to white wine territory, and we're going to drink some red wine from Domaine d'Edouard, their Bourgogne Rouge. So we're really kind of like we're running the gambit of the Côte of Burgundy. So let's start out with a little, I decided to do some standing today, so hopefully this vibe lands. I'm feeling good about it. I kind of like it. So starting out in, like I said, the Mâconnais. So it's basically, if you think about, I look at Burgundy as kind of like four main regions. So you've got Chablis way up in like no man's land, which we're going to be there a little bit later nearby. And then you've got kind of the heart of Burgundy, which is where you get all of the Grand Crus, the Masters, the most expensive wines. You've got your Pomards and your Meursaults and your Chassagnes and all the Cortons and all of that stuff. And then you've got Chalonnais, which really would make the fifth one, but we're going to skip over that. Mâconnais, which falls between like the main Côtes and Beaujolais. So you got Mâconnais, which is really white wine territory, and then Beaujolais, which has some white wine, but it's really all about Gamay down there. So we're in the Mâconnais. We're just north of Beaujolais. We're south of the beating heart of Burgundy. And what I think is, for those who like the classic wines of like Meursault or Chassagne or Polini, but maybe just don't want to spend $150 on a bottle of wine, this is where you need to be looking. Go down to the Mâconnais, focus in on these guys. Again, this is Dominique Cornin, really known for their Pouilly-Fuissé, really beautiful wines. So Pouilly-Fuissé, as a whole, always tends to have, so the Mâcon region, at least when I was kind of learning about wine and selling at retail, Mâcon Village was kind of my answer for like just clean, crisp, easy drinking Chardonnays that weren't super expensive. Then you have Pouilly-Fuissé, which is within the Mâcon, but it is a really specific area. And this area is kind of known for a little bit more richer, a little bit more structured white wines. They tend to use a little bit more oak, and they drink a little more akin to their northern brethren, but they're not as expensive. It is a warmer climate, so you get a little more like tropical fruit notes. This definitely has, tons of freshness here. You get a little bit of like almost like kiwi fruit, underripe pineapple. This wine is done, I believe, a little bit in neutral oak, but mostly in like neutral like stainless steel and things of that nature. Great texture. Again, like I said, these guys are based in Pouilly-Fuissé. This is their Bourgogne Blanc. From what I remember, most of the fruit comes from vineyards within Pouilly-Fuissé. A little bit comes from outside of the region, which is why they label it as a Bourgogne Blanc. It's not aged quite as long as their Pouilly-Fuissé bottlings, and it's not nearly as rounded, but it has so much texture, so much liveliness. For those of you out there who maybe really like unoaked Chardonnays from California, or you really enjoy Chablis, this is kind of like a winter version. No, it does not drink like Chablis. It does not drink like California Chardonnay. But it has a lot of those similarities. A lot of freshness, good textural element on the back end. You have some richness, but it's not a heavy-handed wine. And honestly, for 72 degrees in the middle of January, that is a great way to start out the flight. All right, so again, that was Dominique Cornin, their Bourgogne Blanc. All right, moving a little bit further south to the lovely husband-wife team at Chappelle. This is David Chappelle, no relation to Dave Chappelle, and Michelle Smith. Really amazing couple, making beautifully, like, naturally minded wines in the Beaujolais. They're based really in and around Fleury and Morgon. But they have several different parcels. This comes from a parcel in, oh my goodness, I think it's on here, but it's not. It is a specific parcel. I can't remember what it is, so just ignore me. Anyways, comes from a particular part of Beaujolais, which is very much likely, or at least being thought to become the next cru. For those of you who are not familiar with that, Beaujolais has 10 crus currently. Those are kind of like, treat them like villages of like you would in Burgundy. So whereas in Burgundy you have Geneviève-Chambertin and Pommard and Meursault and things of that nature, in Beaujolais you have Morgon and Fleury and Moulin-à-Vent and China and all of these really beautiful places that make very distinct wines separate from, you know, Beaujolais appellation as a whole. Where this village comes from is more than likely going to be the next cru, so the 11th cru, unless they've, you know, officially announced something that I missed. Anyhow, moving on. 100% Gamay, really beautiful, beautiful wines. You know, the husband and wife, the guys at Chappelle, they work in very natural ways, very much inspired by the Lapierre family, who they're good friends with, who, if Marcel Lapierre, one of the original Gang of Four, the guys who really put Beaujolais back on the map after like industrialization and the whole Beaujolais Nouveau craze of the late 80s, early 90s. These are crunchy, red berry fruited, like a little bit savory, but I want this chilled. I want to have delicious foods, and I want to be sitting outside with friends. That's what I want to do with this wine. Very pomegranate, cranberry characteristics going on, a little bit of herbaceousness. Tons of spice and kind of like, there's actually a good amount of tannin here and loads of acidity. I mean, my mouth is literally watering from how like vibrant and fresh this is, and not in like the acidic, like I just bit into a lemon acidic, sort of like that. I just drank something and I want to eat a bunch of savory food and drink more of this and then eat and then drink and then eat and then drink, which is kind of the whole point, if you ask me. So tasty, and a nice little progression. You know, we've got this rounded, not overly heavy Chardonnay we're starting out with. We're going to move into this like kind of crunchy red berry, like vibrant red wine to get our palate really going before we jump into a Pinot Noir from the far, far north. Again, that is Domaine Chappelle, their Beaujolais Village. All right, rounding out the tasting, we're going to go kind of working it very strangely. We're going middle of the Côte. We're drinking some white wine. We're going all the way south. We're drinking Gamay, and then we're going to go as far north as we basically can get to what is the Côte d'Axar, or Côte d'Axoir. I'm pretty sure I'm butchering the crap out of that. Just, you know, I'll be honest. It's one of those things where sometimes I like that I get it wrong, because it's my way of like showing that like you can still enjoy this and have a lot of fun with it and not know how to pronounce or say these things correctly. Knowing how to say the things or knowing any information about it is not key to enjoyment. Just being open-minded and ready to have some fun. That's the key. So anyways, moving on from my little like randomness there. Bourgogne Rouge. So the Côte d'Axar is basically, it's on, if we're in Chablis, so we're way up, we're basically in Champagne. You know, Burgundy is all, Dijon is like way over here, Chablis is basically above my head. The Côte d'Axar is a little appellation just on like the southwest area of Chablis. And has actually had a long history of growing Pinot Noir, and they grow Chardonnay as well, and a lot of Aligoté, which is another really great variety from the Burgundy region. And historically, they've been known for inconsistencies, but as I discussed, climate change and all of those things, better winemaking practices, cleaner practices have led to much better quality wines and more consistent wines. And this is, Domaine d'Edouard, young up-and-comer, took over like an old estate and is making really fun, really vibrant expressions of Pinot Noir from what is, for lack of a better term, white wine country. You are in the Chablis is Chardonnay to the core. That is Chablis. And we are a stone's throw away from Chablis, and this guy is crushing Pinot Noir. So, interestingly enough, kind of in the same realm as the Chapelle, it's more like vibrant red fruits, more freshness, but you can get we're a little bit colder, whereas this is, Beaujolais is not exactly a hot place, but there's a lot of red fruit, a lot of crunchy red fruit. It's very vibrant. This has that vibrant acidity, but it's a little more earthy savory instead of spice savory. Raspberries, black raspberries. Is that a thing? Black raspberries or blackberries? I think I made up a fruit. It doesn't exist. But that's what it gives me. It gives me very dark raspberry characteristics. And as I said, the Beaujolais, wow. The Beaujolais has really beautiful tannins, and there is good structure there, which I don't think people expect. And then you move into this wine, and I think the mouthfeel is really the determining factor here, where this actually has a lot more structure, a lot more tannins on the back end, in a good way. We're not talking drinking Cabernet tannins, but there's a really good heft to the back end of this wine that really holds up this kind of raspberry, dark raspberry, blackberry, I'm not going to call it blackberry, darker berry characteristic, a little more in the realm of maybe a black cherry, as opposed to where this was really crunchy pomegranate and cranberry. This is ripe raspberry and, just plain delicious. Let's be honest. I'm not gonna ramble any longer. It is delightful. And a really good flight. It worked out quite well that we went Burgundy, we went France again. The weather is going to cooperate. I think it's supposed to be pretty warm most of the weekend. Warm for pretty much any time of the year. It's going to be 60s and 70s. And these are lively wines, but they've got a lot of mouthfeel, a lot of texture. They're going to work great with the food. So basically, if you even saw 10 seconds of this video, come out. Have some flights. Have some fun. Bring out your friends. It's January. Find a reason to enjoy it, because if you're like me, January is your least favorite month. So you got to enjoy all the little things, like a great flight of wine and some delicious food. So until next week, enjoy yourselves. I'll see you all later.